that's our goal with the edit page. So let's talk about the interface. We are going to have some familiar stuff here, actually. We have these little buttons up here. When we click these and they're white, they open up different panels. And the panel that's open by default over here on the left is our media pool. Now this is exactly like the media pool in the media page. The only difference is instead of it being down here, it's over here to the left. But you can still do all the same things. This is all the media that lives in your project. We still have our bins. We still have our smart bins. We can still look at our media in various different ways. But you can sort of think of this as like your cabinet of ingredients that we're going to use to make our video here. We also have a couple of viewers. This left viewer is called our source viewer. And this right viewer here is called the timeline viewer. What the source viewer is for is if I open up one of these pieces of media, double click on it, I can preview this piece of media. So I can scrub through this and preview this and look all through any kind of media that I have. And you do that just by double clicking on any of these pieces of media. And you can sort of think of this as like picking up something and looking at it. So if you have a snack in your cabinet, you pick it up and you look at it like this. But you haven't actually added it to your plate yet. All you're doing is just kind of previewing it, looking at it. So that's cool. You can double click on any piece of media to load it up here in the viewer. You can also switch this to this second mode right here with this little button. And this is called source tape mode. And what this is it basically takes all of your footage and it loads it all into this source viewer all at once and just kind of puts them all together. And so if I scrub through this, I'm scrubbing through this first clip. And if I go to this second part after this little tick mark, I'm scrubbing through the second clip and the third clip and so on. And so I can scrub through all of my clips in my media pool, at least in the bin that I have up here, all at once in one motion. This is great if you're looking for a specific shot visually that you want to lay over something. Makes it really, really quick to be able to find what you need to find. But you might find it less confusing, maybe a little bit easier just to use this first icon here, this first mode where you double click on a piece of media and load it up here in the viewer. Now, once we have a piece of media selected that we like, and we actually want to add that to our video, we want to put that into our edit, what we have to do is add it to a timeline. If the media pool is like our cabinet, and our viewer is like picking up a ingredient from that cabinet, then the timeline down here, this is kind of like our plate. So if we want to actually eat something, we're going to put it on our plate. So if we want to add this to our video, I can grab this clip just in the middle. I'm just grabbing it and dragging it down here to our timeline. And that's going to add this clip to our timeline, which is like, putting an apple on our plate. So now we have an active timeline. We have this playhead that goes back and forth. And this is actually going to make the story of our video. Right now, our story is this. If we go all the way to the left, and I hit spacebar to play, we have a bunch of black space here. We have an empty space, and then eventually our clip starts. And this is our full clip, not edited. We haven't done anything with this. It's just literally the clip thrown into the timeline. We still have people moving around. We still have the slate, all of that kind of stuff. And so if we were going to export this movie right now, and we were going to put this on YouTube or something, this is exactly what people would see, is 6 seconds of black, followed by just this unedited footage that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But we've done something really exciting already. We've put this clip down onto our timeline, which means that we actually have a video in progress now. We could render this out, and it will be a video that's different than this clip. So we've done a little bit of magic already. We've created something. Now, it's not very good. It's not very interesting, so we can change that. But all of the magic of building our story happens down here in the timeline. So let's change our story to be a little bit better here. The first thing I want to do is I don't want this black right here. I don't want to watch 6 seconds of black before anything happens. So we can take this and just drag it to the left. And we always want this kind of pushed all the way to the left at the very start of our clip, because then we start with an actual video, right? We can zoom into this timeline by clicking this little plus right here. That's kind of our zoom bar. We can zoom in and out. And I can adjust this middle bar here, and I can move this up and down. And by default, we have a video track and an audio track added here. If I take the bottom edge of this audio track and I drag it down, that'll make these waveforms a little bit bigger. And so we can see a visual representation of what's happening in the audio. So the bigger the spike, the louder the audio. So we can see where the slate is right here. We zoom in here, we have these little spikes.
Team, take one.
That's where that slate made that spike. And so we're gonna start sometime after this.
What was that?
So her saying, what was that? So that's a good place to start this clip. That's where it actually gets interesting. That's the part that we're supposed to show. And so what we can do is we can trim this and kind of cut out all of this part and just start the clip there. The way that we do that is we just mouse over the edge of this, and you'll see how my mouse kind of turns into this left bracket. I can grab this and then just slide this over like this. And I'll have that clip kind of start right there. This is called trimming a clip. So just like you would trim a hedge or something like that, or trim a piece of paper, you kind of cut off all the excess, right? So we're cutting off this first part. Let's play this back. I'll just hit spacebar.
What was that?
Great. I like that. Let's stop right after that, and I'll take the edge of this and drag this over here. And we can see the outline of the full clip, and we're just going to use that little part. There we go. So now this is a lot shorter, but we have all this black here. So we can take this and slide it all the way to the left, just like that. Okay, I'll zoom in here so we can see what's going on.
What was that?
Great. This, literally what I just showed you. Picking a clip here, dragging it down, and then deciding where you want to start that clip. So maybe starting it right here.
Go check it out.
And trimming it to just be that part that you like.
Check it out.
No, you go check it out.
Trimming off all the excess. This is like the bread and butter of editing. This is like 90% of it. You can make so many amazing videos literally with what I just showed you. That's all you need. That's all you need for so much stuff. We're just bringing those clips in, trimming them, and then putting them here in the timeline. And ideally, there wouldn't be any empty spaces in between them. So we cut from one video,
Go check it out.
next video. All right, we're putting these clips together, and that makes a new story. Just like in our example of Bill walking to his car, we're taking all these separate clips and then putting them together here in an order that we like in the timeline, okay? And what's cool is that we have control over this. We can do something like completely cut out the phone call. Bill opens the door, Bill waves to his neighbor, Bill walks to his car, Bill gets in the car. We can cut out this whole first part and just say Bill walks to his car and then Bill gets in the car. We are in complete control of this story, and it's all about where these clips go in the timeline and what order they go in. So this is so great. Let's get our hands dirty here a little bit. Let's make a story. So if we were to go to this second icon here, this source tape, and scrub through this, we can kind of get a good idea of the story here. These kids arrive and they see this crashed UFO. They're a little bit scared about it, so they kind of argue who should go check it out. The girl finally convinces her brother to go and check it out, so he walks towards the UFO. So he walks up to the UFO. They're both really nervous. And then as he walks up there, something moves. Whew. So this is just a few clips from a scene from our movie called Tuesday on Earth. And so what's great is we have all these clips and we can choose to tell this story however we want. So a good way to start, oftentimes, is with a wide shot. And we want the wide shot that shows the first thing that happens, right? So we have the kids kind of riding up on their bikes, putting their bikes down. And so let's use that for our first clip. So that's clip 10. I'll just double click on that. That'll switch to our source viewer. I'll grab this and drag this down into our timeline. For this first clip, let's scrub through until we're ready, until something interesting starts happening. So right as they kind of get off their bikes, that's probably a good place to trim this beginning. Move this down. Let's play this back. I can hit Control F to play this full screen like this.
Wow.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Have other takes here. And so let's scrub through this and see how this works. And you'll notice now when we scrub through things, the video changes on the right viewer. That's because, again, this is the timeline viewer. This is the preview of what your actual movie movie is going to be. This is just picking up footage from over here and looking at it. Nothing that happens over here is necessarily going to happen in your video. It's all about this viewer right here, the timeline viewer. If you forget which one is which, just scrub your timeline and see which one moves. We can scrub through this and figure out what we like for our different takes.
Whoa.
Great, I like that. Let's trim the end and let's trim the beginning
Ready? And
right after they start moving.
2, 1, action.
Okay, something like that. And move this all the way to the left. So we have our first shot of our movie, them getting off their bikes and walking up. Let's maybe go back into our source tape here, kind of scroll around and try and figure out what we should do next. Again, we're in control of this. That's what's so nice. So they end this shot by kind of standing there like this. So let's cut to them standing together. I think probably this shot right here, shot 31. But this time, instead of dragging this entire clip down here to the timeline and trimming it, we're going to do a little bit of work before we add it to the timeline. We're going to do that by setting ins and outs. See, in our source viewer, we're viewing the entire clip, right? The whole thing. And everything that might happen in that clip is not necessarily stuff we want to keep. Saying action, the actor having to sneeze, Bill waving to the neighbor, Bill waves to the neighbor again, awkward ending and cut. Most of that stuff we don't need. What we really want is Bill waving to the neighbor, right? So what we can do is kind of trim out the extra stuff in the source viewer before we take this and we put it down into the timeline. And so what we'll do is we'll set what's called an in and an out. An in is like the start of the clip that you want, and the out is the end of the clip you want. You can think of this like swimming. When you get in the pool, you start swimming, and when you end swimming, you get out of the pool. So an in is the beginning of your clip, an out is the end of your clip. So we're going to scrub through and try and find the beginning of our clip, which is probably going to be right before he starts talking. Kind of scrub through this, and then let's just play.
Go check it out.
Great, so yeah, we're right about there. And we want that to start there, so we're going to set an in. There's a few ways to do that. One of them is you can click this button right here, which is our set in button, like that.
No, but you.
The other thing you could do would be to hit I on the keyboard, I for in.
Go check it out.
So let's play this back and see what it looks like.
No way. You go check it out.
Fine. Okay. I'll go check it out.
Good. Now let's end the clip there, and we can either click this set out button or we can hit O for out, just like that. Now we have these little gray indicators here. And what that means is that our clip is this long, but we're only going to use this part of the clip. This is what we're actually going to use. And if I click and drag from the middle of this clip down here, we'll see it's much shorter than it would have been, and it's already pre-trimmed. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't change it. We can grab this and we can take the edge of this and trim this, and you can see how big the original clip is with this little gray outline that shows up. It's just like we were to put this down and trim it. We just don't have to move things around in the timeline to do that. We could just kind of trim this beforehand and bring this in. And so what some people will do is go through all their footage and pick the part that they like. They'll kind of do some pre-edits. Like this, I for in. And I can also use the J, K, and L keys on the keyboard as these buttons right here. J plays backwards, K starts and stops, and L plays forwards. So you can kind of move things back and forth with J, K, and L.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
Fine. Okay. I'll go check it out.
Good. That looks good. I'll hit O for out. And I've just grabbed the part that I want, and I can drag it down into the timeline, just like that. And so a great way to start getting things here on the timeline is just to go through all of your clips and pick the parts you like.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
Fine. Reset. We don't want you to move too much.
Right. Okay. Let's back up a little bit. So we're going to use the second take. I can scrub through this faster by hitting L twice. That's going to go through this at 2x speed. And then I can hit K to stop, and then L to play back normal speed.
Go check it out. Right,
J to kind of reverse. I for in.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
Fine. And again, I can just drag this down. So you can do this for all of your footage. And a good way to do this is just kind of throw all the footage into a timeline. And then remember, you can always move things around, change the order, and play around with things. And you can always trim it more or less. You really can't ruin it too badly. And so this is the fun part about editing, is creating this story. So let's just maybe cut to this second shot here. And I'll just trim this back a little bit to where they're kind of just looking dumb at this thing. And we'll cut from this wide shot into this close-up like this.
Whoa.
Action.
We've got to cut out that action though.
Whoa.
Go check it out.
No way, you go check it out.
Fine.
Okay. I'll go check it out.
Great. So we have the basic actions happening where they come up, they see something, they start arguing, and eventually the guy starts walking towards the craft. But we want to show this in a more creative way. And so we actually have these other shots that we can cut in between them and make it look a little bit more interesting. So for instance, when the girl's talking, we want to see the girl's face a little bit closer. So let's see if this take works.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
And I like that little, wait, what? Like this right here. So let's trim that. And let's see if we can put this in there somewhere right after he says go check it out.
Go check it out.
Right there. That's probably a good place to cut. Now, we haven't done this yet, but we have this clip, and this shouldn't go before or after. It should go right in the middle here. So what we can do is we can split this clip a couple of different ways. One way we could do it would be to go and click on this little icon here, this little razor blade, and that's going to turn our mouse into a razor blade tool. And whenever we click on this clip, that's going to split the clip right there wherever we click. So we can just chop this up if we want to. I'll hit Control Z a few times to undo that. What I like to do is figure out where I want to cut by moving this playhead back and forth, and then use a keyboard shortcut to split it. The default keyboard shortcut for Resolve is Control backslash. That's the backslash that's right above Enter, like the return key, kind of in the middle of the keyboard. If you hit that, that will split this clip right where that playhead is. And then you can move the clips around and put this clip here in between them, like this. So now let's see what this looks like.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
See how that kind of works? Fine. Now, we want to see him say fine, and so really this is kind of the same process. So we split it right there, Control backslash, and we might not use the rest of this, but we'll just bring it down there, kind of out of the way for now. We have him saying fine. Let's see, where's another one? There we go, him saying fine.
No, you go check it out.
Right there, I like that. Let's trim that here. Bring this in like this.
Go check it out.
Fine. Great.
Wait.
So he says fine here. Fine. Let's trim this. Put this in order. So now we're putting clips in the order for the story, but we're also choosing clips that show the story the very best. This is where it starts to get really fun.
Go check it out.
No, you go check it out.
Fine.
Okay. I'll go check it out.
Great. So we'll maybe cut right there. And now we have a sequence of a few different shots that really start to tell our story. And then it's up to you as the editor to go in and think about, okay, how fast should one clip cut to another clip?
Go check it out.
So he kind of pushes her. I feel like this should happen a little bit quicker. Go to that other shot. Anytime that you cut in between one shot and another, you can decide to show more or less time. And so you can kind of control time a little bit. This is the one part of the world where you can control time. That's what's really neat.
No, you go check it out.
Good. Let's cut that a little bit tighter too. Move this down. Fine.
You have it listen, you type it in,
This is
and then you
awesome.
go digging.
notice how this cut works really well.
Fine.
The reason for that is because he starts to turn his head back in this shot, and he finishes turning his head on this shot. This is called cutting on action. That means that there's one action that happens in one shot that's continued in the other shot. And so our mind accepts the little differences in between the shots, and it makes it feel like they're continuous. Just like I start waving my hand in this shot, and then we cut to this shot, it feels like it's continuous, right? And that's because it is. I mean, this is kind of recorded live, but that's what really helps, is that little tiny movement. And so looking for those opportunities to make those cuts a little bit easier. For instance, when he pushes her, she kind of moves a little bit. Maybe this happens in this shot too. Does he push her? Yeah, she moves forward a little bit. So maybe as she moves forward just a touch, maybe that'll work a little better. I can select this empty part and hit delete, and that's going to get rid of that gap. See how there's like that little movement. She's moving forward, kind of moving forward a little bit there too. That might be a good cut. It might just take too long. We don't want to do that. We'll see. But that's all up to you. Now, a couple other things about adding clips. Let's go through here and let's add this shot right here, shot 24. This is what we would call their POV, sort of. It's actually an over-the-shoulder shot, but it's what they see. And so anytime that you're editing, especially when somebody's looking off screen and they have some kind of reaction, just like what's happening here, where they're walking towards and they go, whoa, then that sparks a question in the viewer's mind. What are they looking at? And so a lot of the time, it's a good idea to show what they're looking at in the next shot. Now, the next shot in the timeline right here is actually them standing. And it's sort of a problem because they're actually standing farther apart here than they are in this shot. And that's something you'll probably notice. Like, it looks weird. So we can kind of feed two birds with one stone here. We can answer the question, what are they looking at off screen? And we can bridge this gap to not be distracting by adding this shot in here. A couple ways that we could do this would be to zoom out, select all of our shots to the right, and move it down so that we have some space to put this shot, and we can drag this shot in here. And we can set the in and the out on this shot, and we can drag it in here like that, and then kind of delete the gaps, and that would work. What's a little bit faster is to put our playhead right on that edge. You can tell it to snap to the edges by clicking this button right here. If this magnet is white, it'll kind of snap to the edges like this. If it's not, then it won't really snap. You can kind of put this wherever you want. I like to have snapping on for this kind of thing. Put this right on that edit, that edge in between the two clips. And what we can do is click one of these buttons right here. These are our edit buttons. This one is insert clip. And what we'll do is we can set an in and an out, like the beginning and the end of this clip, something like that. And we can hit this insert button, and look what happens. When I click this, it inserts this clip right where that playhead was, and it moves all the other clips this way down the timeline.
Okay.
So if I hit Control Z, we can kind of see what happens. Control Shift Z to redo it. It's just putting that clip in there. So now we have in our story, they show up and say, whoa. And then we see what they see. Ooh, yeah, baby. That looks good. And now we've forgotten how far apart they were in that first shot. And so now we cut here and nobody cares. Works great.
Go check it out.
That's how we build a story here in the edit page. So cool. And this basic process works for any kind of video you're making, whether you're making a film like this, or whether you're just doing a YouTube video, documentary, commercial. It's all about finding the clips you want, setting the in and out, and putting it on the timeline in some way. Whether it's dragging it to the timeline, or whether it's using an edit button like this insert. There's also a couple other edit modes. For instance, overwrite, which just kind of pastes this over everything. There's replace, which will swap out the clip here for the clip that we're over here in the timeline. And you can click and drag here, and drag this viewer onto this viewer, and you have a few more options too. For instance, place on top, puts that clip on top and on the next layer. We're always going to be looking at the top layer in our viewer, but we can decide to turn this off and move this around without overwriting this clip. One handy edit button here would be append at end. If you drop it on this append at end, it's going to throw this clip, whatever we have selected here, at the end of our timeline, which is great if you're just kind of gathering the clips that you want. You can just double click, set your in and out, okay? Drag it over here, append at end. You don't have to to worry about where you are in your story. You can just kind of go through here, pick the parts you like,
30-minute break.
append it, and you don't really have to worry about it.
All right, we need a 30-minute break. We're an hour in